Hello everyone there. I am Garima Miss. Welcome to my English lecture. Today we are going to do figures of speech. But before starting, let me revise you what are the things that we had done in the previous lecture. We had seen summary, we had seen introduction, we had seen about the poet and the poem, then theme of the poem, then in the last lecture we had seen glossary of words and line by line explanation of the poem. Okay, so I hope you all remember this, and proceeding towards our third lecture of Song of the Open Road. Today we are going to do figures of speech. So before starting, we must know the definition of figures of speech and then line by line solving of the figures of speech. Today we are going to see figures of speech. Figures of speech, I think most of the students know, but I had given the quick definition because those who don't know, and some figures of speech this year in 12th standard it is introduced. So back, like alliteration, repetition, personification, these all you know, but more it is added in the 12th standard. So all I had taken it and given the quick glance about the definition of none other than figures of speech. So without wasting time, let's move on to figures of speech definition. Okay, so let's see figures of speech definition, what you see in the slide. First one is alliteration. What do you mean by the term alliteration? Alliteration, if you would see, it means in the figure of speech the same letter or sound repeats, so it is known as alliteration. Alliteration means same sound of the letter, if it repeats we call it as alliteration. Okay, if the sound repeats, okay, then we call it as what? Alliteration. Like for example, if in a sentence, if s sound is repeated, p sound is repeated more than one time, if it is occurring, then we call it as alliteration. Move to the next is inversion. What do you mean by the term inversion? As I had taught in the classroom, there is a change in the grammatical order. What is the grammatical order, student? Subject plus predicate plus object. This is the correct sentence order. But poet, in order to bring, if you would see, poetic device like this one, inversion in the line, poet uses this as a format. So this if you would see in the poem, there is at least 5-6 places inversion is used where sentences are not present in the proper order. So in exam you have to write the definition in this figure of speech: change of grammatical order of words. So what we call it as? We call it as inversion. So second we had covered. First one was alliteration, where sound, that is alphabets, are repeated. Again I am revising. Sound is repeated, alphabetical letters are repeated, so we call it as alliteration. Whereas second, if you would see, inversion, where words are not present in the proper order. Words are not present in the proper order. It means there is a grammatical error in the sentence. Okay, so in exam must remember, while you are writing the inversion, you have to write the correct, you have to write what? You have to write the correct sentence. What is the correct sentence? Okay, so you have to write here it is inversion because words are not present in the proper grammatical order. The correct order is, you have to write the what is the correct order by yourself. Okay, so that is inversion. Next is repetition. Alliteration, what you know? Alliteration where the sound repeats. Okay, s sound, p sound, q l sound, if it repeats in the sentence, then we call it as alliteration. While doing we can understand, while we will do in this, in the next slide we will understand more properly, where the sound repeats we will call it as alliteration. So in alliteration, if the sound repeats, what about the repetition? Repetition also, if you would see, something repeats. In repetition, if you would see, students, something repeats. And what is that? In repetition, words are repeated. Alliteration, what is repeated? Alphabetical letters and sounds are repeated, whereas in repetition, words are repeated. Okay, words, if words are repeated more than 2 or 3 times, we call it as repetition. So what's the definition it all about? Can you see it? In this figure of speech, same words are repeated in the same line. So what we call it as? We call it as none other than repetition. So this is the repetition. Alliteration you all understood, and repetition. Alliteration, where the alphabetical letters repeat, whereas repetition, if you would see, words are repeated. Moving towards the fourth point. What is the fourth point? Can you see it, student? This is the new figure of speech which is adding in this in our 12th standard, and that is synecdoche. Synecdoche, if you would see, synecdoche, if you would see, simply I want to say a very easy way to understand. Things which are correlated and you cannot able to differentiate it. Two things which are interrelated and you cannot able to separate it, that is known as synecdoche. Synecdoche, if you would see, figures of speech is rightly present in this slide. In this figure of speech, the two images are associated. If you would see, the poet uses two things are there and they are interconnected with it, and they are inseparable, you cannot separate them. So what it is called it as? So it is called it as synecdoche. In this figure of speech, the two images are associated and the connection is inseparable. So what we call it as? We call it as synecdoche. Next, understood? While doing it, we will understand. For example, the poet, if you would see, the first line itself uses synecdoche. Okay, in this poem, Song of the Open Road. Okay, so while doing it, we will get more and more examples. Okay. Next, you can see fifth one, which we had already seen in the 11th standard, that is metaphor. Two things are indirectly compared. If the two things are indirectly compared, we call it as metaphor. Okay, indirectly, implicitly, if it is compared, we call it as metaphor. So if you would see in this figure of speech, there is a two things indirectly compared. Okay, two things, if it is indirectly compared, we call it as metaphor. For example, I would say camel is called ship of the desert. Okay, so camel, if you would see, it is indirectly compared with ship of the desert. Okay, so there is two things which are indirectly compared. Okay, so you can see without using as, like, and so. If we are using as, like, and so, it is simile, and there is a direct comparison. Okay, why it is direct comparison? Because as, like, and so words are used, so that is simile. But what is metaphor? Metaphor, if you would see, there is, if you would see, indirect comparison without using as, like, and so, but comparison is there. Must remember, two things are compared but indirectly. Okay, sixth one of this slide is paradox. Again, the new thing is introducing in our 12th standard, paradox. If you would see, what do you mean by the term paradox? Paradox, it means it's an absurd statement. Absurd means while you will read, you will laugh, because it meaningless. It don't have the meaning. While you will read, you will laugh, and it have a meaninglessness. The sentence, if you will read, you will say what's the sentence, but when you will go the deeper into it, the deeper meaning, when you will take it out, you would say that's the reality. That's the reality that the poet talks about. It means the statement, when you will read, it looks like that it's a self contradictory idea. Okay, it means contrasting ideas are there. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes you could see meaningless sentences would be there, no meaning is there. But once you will read it and understand in a proper way, you will say this is the reality. So paradox means opposite, of course, thought is there. I'm not saying opposite words are there, opposite thoughts are there, but when you will go deeper into it, you will properly understand that it talks about none other than your own reality of life. What's the reality of life that it talks about? So that is paradox. While doing it properly, we will understand in this poem paradox is there. Okay, last but not the least, the title itself, if you would see, as I had introduced in the last lecture, that in title itself there is one figure of speech, and that is personification. Personification, if you would see, what do you mean by the term personification? In this figure of speech, inanimate object, that is not real objects, non-living things, are given human being quality, so we call it as personification. For example, the moon is peeping. Peeping, who is the habit of peeping? Human being. Human being peeps, yes, but if you would see, that is given to the inanimate object, that is moon. Okay, so of course you can see the human being quality is given to the inanimate object, so we call it as personification. Yes, so paradox all understood, I hope. In this figure of speech there is a self contradictory, means contrast, opposite statement, thought is there, but when you will go deeper into it, you will find that it's the reality of life, so that's why it is known as paradox. Okay, that means absurd or meaningless statement but true to the life. Absurd, that is meaningless statements are there, but they are very true. I think out of seven figures of speech which are coming in this poem, must remember synecdoche and paradox are the new one. Apart from that, we all had seen like alliteration, inversion, repetition, metaphor, and personification. 5 we had seen in our 11th standard. 2 is new over here. So 2 definition I had given. Instead, you can see I had done one good, none other than what I had done, one good station where you understood properly the figures of speech coming over here. So you can see one more figure of speech which is coming over here, if you would see, last but not the least, that is tautology. What do you mean by the term tautology? That also we had seen it. If you would see tautology, if you would see, the two words, okay, two words are similar in meaning. Okay, why it is done? The poet is doing for the sake of emphasis. Okay, two words having the same meaning which is coming in the same sentence, so we call it as tautology. Okay, so tautology is also there in this slide. If you would see the last point, if you would see, it is tautology. In this figure of speech, use of more than one word, similar of course. Why it is done? For the sake of emphasis, to give more attention to the statement the poet use, or to more specify, to more bring the clarity in the poem, the poet uses two words having the same meaning, so we call it as tautology. So out of eight is there. Out of 8, you can see student, figures of speech, you can see we had done 5, at least 5 or 6 in the classroom. Only 2, if you would see, that is synecdoche and paradox, which are new. So while doing it, it is well understood by ourselves. Okay, moving towards the next slide, what we are doing is, student, we are doing line by line explanation of figures of speech. We will do line by line where the figure of speech is coming in the line. And must remember, Walt Whitman poetry is filled with, if you would see, it is filled with figures of speech. So every line, if you would see, the figure of speech is used. Okay, so total 8 figure of speech, how we are using it, okay, that we are going to see it in. Even if you would see, climax is also coming. Okay, so climax, I think all know what is climax. Okay, so climax, if you would see, what is climax, that is the 9th one. If you would see the 9th one, if you would see, that is the last one of this slide, that is climax. ideas are arranged in ascending order of importance. Okay, it means you can see words, sentences, phrases, all are coming one after another, so we call it as climax. Okay, so climax, if you would see, words are arranged in ascending order of importance. So let's see our next slide, which will talk about line by line explanation of figures of speech. So, moving towards the next slide that we are going to see today is line by line explanation of the figures of speech. So, figures of speech is there in every line that we are going to see. In the last slide, we had seen the 9 definitions of the figures of speech, where 7 are more important, 2 are also important, of course, but if you would see, last year we had done it, so at least we can see 9 figures of speech we can closely relate, and these all 9 figure of speech are very important from the point of view of this poem 2.1 Song of the Open Road. So I think all are having the textbook in their hand and notebook, so start writing line by line explanation of the figures of speech in this line. Okay, so first line we will all read first. What is the first line? If you would see, afoot and light hearted I take to the open road. Okay, explanation we had already done, figures of speech we are going to see. So first line itself, if you would see, there is what, there is inversion. Please write, you can see in the slide it is written there, that is inversion. Okay, inversion, if you would see, words are not present in proper order. The words are not present in proper order. What is the correct order? Can anyone tell me what is the correct order? Anyone? Can you feel from, understand from there? The answer is, of course, I take. I take to the open road afoot and light hearted. I take to the open road afoot and light hearted. Please put in single inverted comma. So that is the inversion. So inversion definition I had given here, explanation is also there, which figure of speech is there, that also I had given. So please copy down as I had given in this slide, or at least save this slide by making the screenshot so that you would remember. Okay, so yeah, definition also you can take the screenshot. If you are not writing, I hope that all are writing. Okay, so you can see first statement, the words are not present in proper order. So what we call it as, we call it as inversion. So the answer is, I take to the open road afoot and light hearted. Second one more figure of speech is there in that line. Can anyone guess? Two things which are interrelated and that is not going to separate. Last slide we had studied. What is that? Synecdoche. Synecdoche, if you would see, two things are interrelated and they are not going to separate. Here you can see, student, two things are interrelated. It means the word, if you would see, open road. Open road here, it of course means a traveler is walking on the road. Afoot and light hearted. Afoot means a person who is moving out of the house, progressing his journey. But also one more meaning is attached. One more meaning is attached, that is road of life. What we want to become in our future. What is our fortune. So two things which are very closely related and they are not going to separate, that is known as synecdoche. Okay, here you can see a word afoot as well as road are very interrelated, so that is known as, they are not going to separate. The poet has referred this statement to make us understand that they are closely related, so that is known as synecdoche. This is the first line, student must remember. Second line of the poem, healthy free the world before me. healthy, free, the world before me. Can you find that the sentence is in proper order? Do you think that the sentence is in proper order? Do you call it as a proper grammatical sentence? No. Where is subject? Can you see it is coming after, coming at the place of object? Okay, so there it is what? Inversion. In the slide itself it is written inversion. So what's it is written? The words are not present in proper order. If the words are not present in proper order, we call it as inversion. So what is the correct order? The correct order is rightly present in this slide. The world before me, healthy and free, comma, you can take it out and at that place you can write is. So answer would be the world before me is healthy and free. Understood everyone? This is the line number 2. Line number 3. What is the line number 3? Can we all read the line number 3? Come on, read with me. The long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. So what's the statement? The long brown path. Can you see which letters are repeated again and again? Some letters, if you would see, which are repeated again and again. The long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. Okay, so what if the letters, sound of the letter, if it repeats, we call it as alliteration. So can you see here alliteration? Why it is alliteration? Because the sound B sound, that is brown, B stands for brown and before, and L stands for leading, L stands for leading and long. L and B is repeated twice times in order to bring poetic effect in the poem. Why it is being done? In order to bring poetic effect in the poem. You can write it. Sound of the letter B and L is repeated twice times in order to bring poetic effect in the poem. So we call it as alliteration. So line number 3, that is the stanza 3, stanza 1 is completing over here. Here it is alliteration. So first stanza it is completing, where we had seen the synecdoche, inversion and alliteration. Moving to the stanza 2. Stanza 2 first statement, if you would see, henceforth I ask not good fortune, I myself am good fortune. Henceforth I ask not good fortune. Second stanza, first line, focus please. Henceforth I ask not good fortune, I myself am good fortune. Which word or words are repeated? Yes, good fortune. How many times? 2 times. So can you write? Here it is repetition. Why it is repetition? Because good fortune, word or words, good fortune. You have to write word only because it's a hyphen word. So we consider it as only one word. We can't consider it as even phrase. It is a hyphen word. Can you see? Good fortune. Good fortune, it is hyphened. Okay, one hyphen is there. So we consider it as one word. That's why in explanation I had written it is repetition, because word, I had not used the plural. That is words. I had used word. Good fortune is repeated twice times. Okay. Understood? Second stanza, first line. Now moving to the second stanza, second line. Henceforth I whimper no more, postpone no more, need nothing. Okay, again you can see repetition is there. Yes, of course. Which words are repeated twice times? Yes, no more. Okay, so here it is repetition because the word no, because the words no more is repeated twice times. Why it is being repeated twice times? In order to bring the poetic effect in the poem. In order to bring poetic effect in the poem, the poet uses repetition by repeating the word more specifically, more focusing that the poet is no more going to cry or show his dull face or going to feel saddened. Okay, so that the poet is determined. So that's why there it is used word repetition. But with that, one more figure of speech there it is used. Can anyone focus on there? Yes, climax. What do you mean by the term climax? Words are arranged in ascending order of importance. Okay, words, incidents, some happening, some phrase. If it is coming one after another, so we call it as what? We call it as none other than what? Climax. Here it is repeated one after another. The poet is saying, I am no more going to cry, I am not going to postpone my work to the next day, and I do not require anybody's help. So one after the another the poet's ideas are coming. So what we call it as, it is arranged in ascending order of importance. So it is climax. Here it is climax because words are in ascending order. The ideas of the poet is present in the ascending order of importance. I hope all had got this slide understood. Yes, come on, moving to the next slide. Okay, next slide. Can everyone look into it? Okay, second stanza. Second stanza, you can see second stanza, third line. Done with indoor complaints, libraries, querulous criticism. Here if you would see, three figure of speech is there. Okay, first one, if you would see what, done with indoor complaints, libraries and querulous criticism. First one we will point it out, alliteration. Maximum student is pointing out alliteration. Very good, we had pointed out alliteration because there it is alliteration, of course. Complaints and criticism. Yes, see, or we can say consonant. If you are putting it up, that is the consonant K. Okay, last 11th standard even we had seen the one more figure of speech, and if you can put over here, that is correct also. That is consonance. Okay, where the sound K, criticism and complain. So what is the sound? K. So one also you can add over here. If you are adding, there is no mistake. Consonance is also there. That is the sound K is repeated. But what about the alliteration? I had said letters, alphabetical letters are repeated. So which alphabetical letters are repeated over here? That is C, criticism and complaint. So what's the explanation? Can anyone see quickly? Here it is alliteration because letter C is repeated twice times. Is that clear? Next, of course it is climax because the poet's ideas are coming one after another. The poet is determining, the poet is promising himself that I am not going to cry, I am not going to postpone the things, I don't require the help in the last line. And in this line what he is saying, that I do not want to listen anyone complain or whatever the people are speaking about me. However, so much of things or libraries of things that they want to speak, I am not going to listen to it. Whatever the criticism, bad words, abuses they are using for me, I don't bother. So the poet's ideas are presented one after another in an ascending order. So what we call it as? We call it as climax. So here you can see it is climax because words are arranged in ascending order of importance. If the words are arranged in ascending order of importance, we call it as climax. You can see poet's ideas are coming one after another. The poet is saying, I do not want indoor any complaints, I do not want people saying anything about anyone, I am done with it. That's the poet is saying. One more figure of speech is introduced over here. Can anyone pay attention to it? That is tautology. Yes, two words which are having the similar meaning. Can anyone pay attention to it? What are the two words which are having the similar meaning? Yes, two words having the similar meaning. Can you take it out, madam? These are the two words which are having the similar, almost similar meaning. That is complaints and querulous criticism. querulous criticism as well as complaint. Querulous criticism, we will consider it as one phrase. Okay, it's like one phrasal word. If you would see, it has been given out. Querulous, all know the meaning. Okay, that is yeah, complaint, cries and all, so sad cries and all. And complaint, of course, you all know. So you can see these all are almost interrelated words, or having the similar meaning, which poet had used in the same line. So it is called it as tautology. So what is tautology? If the words, if you would see, if the words, two words are coming almost similar meaning, so we call it as tautology. So here, if you would see, student, querulous criticism and complaints are normally having the similar meaning, so there it is tautology. So in this line, if you would see, three figures of speech is there: alliteration, climax and tautology. Moving towards the next line, if you would see, student, what's the second stanza, fourth line, that is strong and contained. I travel the open road. Again, I think most of the student had understood, madam, words are not present in the proper order. Yes, student, here in this sentence the words are not present in the proper grammatical order. If the words are not present in the proper grammatical order, what we call it as, student? Inversion. Yes, correct, assumed. So here you can see it is given in the slide rightly over here. Here it is inversion because change in the grammatical order. Okay, tell me the proper order. Tell me the proper order, because in examination you have to write. It will come for 2 marks. 1 mark would be on writing the definition, and second mark second is given. One more mark is given. Why? Because if you are writing the correct order. Correct order, if you are writing, you will get this 2 out of 2. Yes. So what is the correct order? Can anyone tell which is rightly given? But I hope that you give by yourself. What is that? I travel the open road, strong and content. And whenever, student, whenever you are writing now proper order, please put it into single or double inverted comma, so that whoever is the paper who is doing the assessment can able to see, yes, the student had marked, put the inverted commas to make it specify that here the proper order is this, but the poet has used that. Okay, so give more importance to punctuation must. Okay, so I travel the open road, strong and contained. That's the proper order. Moving to the next, third stanza, where we arrived. Yes, we arrived at the third stanza. Third stanza, student, I will take two lines, first two lines in club. Okay, I will club the two lines and I will take, because the earth that is sufficient, okay, is not properly the one line. It is the main ideas are coming in the second line. I do not want the constellations near any nearer. So the statement, if you would see, two statements which I am taking: the earth that is sufficient, comma, I do not want the constellation any nearer. So these two lines I am taking together. And can anyone assume the figure of speech over here? See it fast and tell me. Okay, a very simple one. Can anyone yeah, the last line itself, if it is an inversion, this line also, if you would see, yes, in these two lines there is inversion. Everyone, can you see the proper statement of the inversion? Yes, I do not, it will come from the next line. Okay, I do not want the constellation any nearer, that the earth is sufficient. Understood? Again, I am repeating, the inversion is going to come from the second line and then it will go to the first line of the third stanza. So what's the answer? I do not want the constellation any nearer, that, that is, you can see that the conjunction that is used to club, to combine the two sentences. Here it is complex sentence, huh? I do not want the constellation any nearer, that the earth is sufficient. Is that clear? That's the proper order. Okay, this is the two sentences we had done it of third stanza. Moving to the third stanza, third line, that is the last statement of this slide. I know they are very well where they are. You can see most of the student had understood over there that what is repeated over there. Okay, I think there it is. Yes, of course. Repetition. Which words are repeated, student? Can you pay attention to it? You will get into it. Here it is repetition because words, two words are repeated, or you can say two words are repeated twice times in order to bring poetic effect in the poem. Here repetition, here it is repetition because the words they are is repeated twice times for poetic effect. Or I hope all are looking at their textbooks and writing the answers that I am giving you. Same way you have to write in your notebook. Okay, I am going to check when it will reopen. Must remember, I know they are very well where they are. So here it is repetition because the words they are is repeated twice times, okay, in order to bring the poetic effect. Okay, one more figure of speech I can look into it, and that is none other than, very properly it is done by Walt Whitman, that is alliteration. Okay, which sound is repeated more than two times? You can see, or two times. Yes, W. Very good. Well, where? Well, where? So you can write here it is alliteration because sound of the letter W is repeated twice times for poetic effect. Okay, you can see well and where. You can see the poet has very technically used well and where continuously to bring the poetic effect, that is alliteration. Okay, that brings to the end of this slide. Moving to the next slide, that is the stanza third, fourth line. Last line of the stanza third, that is, I know this suffice for those who belong to them. Last stanza we had seen the alliteration, and in this slide also alliteration is continuously coming. So here if you would see, there is also alliteration. I had said the poem is filled with alliteration inversion. Yes, so alliteration if you would see again, and of course repetition. So here you can see alliteration because the sound if you would see which sound is repeated, can you pay attention to it? I had given over there sound of the letter T. Sound of the letter T is repeated twice times or four times. I can see not twice times, it's four times. That is they, those, two, them. It means more than two times. So you can write here it is repetition because sound of the letter T is repeated more than two times or four times. So it is known as none other than alliteration. Understood everyone? So this brings us to the end of the stanza third. Moving to the stanza fourth. Okay, fourth stanza, can you please come and pay attention to it? First line of the fourth stanza, which is in bracket. Still here I carry my old delicious burden. If you would see, this line is very important of the poet Walt Whitman. I had said in the teaching itself, old delicious burden. Students, burden cannot be delicious. Troubles and problems are never be delicious. But here the poet has used to make us understand it's not just the troubles and burdens, but our past best memories that we had spent with our family members, with our friends, those who are having lots and lots of expectation in our life. Okay, that they feel that we will do something in our life, that you all as a children will definitely going to do something in your life. That hope that the people were having, of course you want to bring into it. Of course you want to show them that whatever that I had hoped for it, whatever I had dreamt, whatever I had seen the dream, I had fulfilled it, I had accomplished it. So that if you would see, it is present over here. Okay, so old delicious burden, please underline this statement, this phrase, old delicious burden. In this old delicious burden, student, there is two figure of speech, that is metaphor. First we will pay attention to the metaphor, okay, and next we are going to pay attention to paradox. Here it is, why it is metaphor, because old memories, okay, I had said you old memories. Don't feel that the burden is if you would see, are very good, it is like delicious, foods are delicious, but burdens are never been delicious, okay. But here the poet wants to talk about the old memories that we had spent with our family members, okay. So here if you would see, it is metaphor because old memories of the human being, of we individual, is indirectly compared with delicious. Students, right now also, if you are sitting at one place and you remember about your 10th standard, so many friends were there, or wherever you went with your family, or family trip that you attended, you all remember, and one smile just comes on your face unknowingly. Yes, unknowingly, not able to understand, but when you remember that days of your life, now you just have one smile on your face. That is the old delicious memories, okay. So the poet is saying, of course burdens are there, but with that burden I am having a sweet memories of my past. So that's why there is metaphor. Two things are indirectly compared, okay, that best memories of the family member with the friends that the poet had spent, as well as the burdens that he carries with him, okay. That two things are implicitly or indirectly compared, so we call it as metaphor. Moving towards moving towards the next is paradox, which I had taught, okay, when I had given in a very proper way, that when you will read the statement you will laugh. Delicious, it means food is delicious. Why the poet is saying delicious burden? How the burden would be delicious? It's totally absurd statement. Absurd means meaningless, having no meaning. But once you go the deeper into it, you will say yes, that's the reality. So here if you would see paradox, if you would see, burdens cannot be delicious, it's just a meaningless. Absurd means what? Absurd means meaningless. So the meaningless statement, of course it looks like meaningless, but it's having lots and lots of meaningful statement hidden to it. Yes, so delicious, it means food is delicious, but here the burdens are given delicious. It means in our life also we have to consider that burdens are very sweet, are very charming, it's very relishing, okay. So like it, just like that burdens, face the tackle. That's the only thing that you can come forward. Wherever you are, you can come forward in your life. If you really are facing lots and troubles and problems, if you want to come out with the troubles and problems, face it more happily. Don't show your ugly face. Burdens are there, of course, we can't deny the burdens, but we have to tackle it in a more cheerful, in a more happy way, that the poet talks about. So in this line if you would see, two figures of speech is there, metaphor and paradox, and every time if you would see this line is the I think this line is a famous for the poet and as well as the paper setter. So must remember, if it comes, I hope the students would be writing. So paradox and metaphor. Third last line of this poem. I carry them, men and women, I carry them with me wherever I go. Students, while seeing it, carry them is coming for twice times. So what we call it as, here it is, yes, repetition, because the phrase I carry them is repeated. How many times? Twice times. So what is call it as? We call it as repetition. So here it is repetition, because why it is repetition, student? Because I carry them is repeated twice times. Is that clear? If it is repeated twice times, we call it as what? Repetition. Okay, the words or phrases, if it repeats twice times, we call it as repetition. Second last line of the stanza, pay attention. I swear it is impossible for me to get rid of them. Okay, you can see properly some alphabetical letters are repeated over here. Sounds are repeated. Which sound is repeated, student? Okay, here it is alliteration, because the sound of the letter L, okay, sound of the letter I, sorry, is repeated continuously. I, it is impossible. Okay, sound of the letter I very nicely, if you would see, it is present by the poet. I, it is impossible. All are I sounds. Okay, even you can add one more over here as consonants. Consonants is also there. These all are the examples of consonant sentences. So alliteration is almost alliteration is totally correct, but if you are adding one more, that is consonants, it is also correct. So it is impossible, it means sound of the letter I is repeated, and that we call it as consonant. And here also alliteration, that is sound of the letter I is repeated, or vowel sound I is repeated, we call it as alliteration. So the last line of the slide, last line of this poem or this slide comes is, I am filled with them and I will fill them in return. You can see I am filled with them and I will fill them in return. You can see little bit changes, but the poet has used the word by, earlier he was saying that I am filled with the burdens, and definitely I know if I am working hard, I must know that what's my duty towards, or what's my responsibility. So I know my responsibility, and when the time comes I will return to that responsibility. I know my responsibility towards my family, towards my society, towards my nation. So I know all my responsibility. I am going to fill my responsibility, fill my burden, and I carry my responsibility in a very proper way. So here you can see filled or and them. Okay, word fill and them is repeated twice times in the poem. So in this last line, so we call it as fill, and poem is fill and them. Fill and them is repeated in this last line of the poem twice times, so we call it as repetition. So I hope all had understood the line by line explanation of the figures of speech of the first poem 2.1, Song of the Open Road. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our lecture. Next lecture we are going to see appreciation of the poem. Appreciation of the poem, definite question it is for the examination point of view, for the board examination point of view. So we will do appreciation of the poem in the next lecture. Okay, till then read the poem once more, think over the expressions that I had done today, that is figures of speech today, and enjoy learning. This is Garima Miss signing off. Stay home, stay safe.